Is this thing on? Are we live? Yes, it looks like we are live. What's happening, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. Big news, or is it? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Tim Kuniskis is checking out. Dude is retiring, and or at least he's leaving Stellantis. Now, what exactly does that mean for us? Is that the end of Dodge, the end of Mopar Performance? Is this the end of an era, an end of a branding, so to speak? Yeah, it is, basically. Look, I don't want to be the guy that's going to be the Chicken Little in the story yelling the sky is falling. But the reality is this. If it weren't for Kuniskis, we wouldn't have the Hellcat variants. We certainly wouldn't have the Demons. And that's probably more the case. So there's that. But, I mean, listen, would you want to stick around? Look at it from the man's perspective. Why would you want to stick around and try to sell something that you do not believe in? Guys, when you watched this guy talk, when the original release with it was there, and then you had the Banshee with the rare thing, and then, you know, the convertible, that abomination that it is. Did you ever get and then the carbon fiber nonsense? You never got the sense that dude was pushing what he wanted to. Like, you got the sense, and I had said this in some live shows. In fact, I think I may have said it on the reveal video then, basically saying, Tim, blink twice if you're being held hostage. You know, look 3 times to your left if we can save you. You know, that's kind of where I was at with this. I did feel like the guy was just absolutely, I mean, zip tied and hog tied and pan fried, man. The guy just did not have the leeway that he needed to make products that I think that he knew that his buying public wanted. This actually goes back, for me at least, to 2016, 2017, when we were told we were getting an all-new platform, and that all-new platform would have been the Ghibli platform from Maserati, something along those lines. But we were going to get that new 5-point-something liter 4-valve engine. And that was going to be the next engine that was going to take us in. And it was, you know, the rumor mill was just aglow with that thing for about 15 hot seconds. And then that was it. You never did hear about it ever again. And really, I went searching for it. And I was like, damn, is this like the Mandela effect? Because I could have sworn I was talking about this thing a lot, but I can't find anything on it. And so here's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm bummed to see the guy leave, but I'm glad to see him leave too, because look, I wouldn't want the dude to have to suffer. This is the same guy that brought us a lot of really cool stuff. And listen, if anybody has been the poster child for tough love when it comes to Mopar, it's this guy. Now, that doesn't get you a whole lot of accolades, but it at least shows that somebody's got the passion to get out here and tell the truth as they see it. And I never really had a criticism of Tim so much as I had a criticism of his marketing department. I thought that his marketing department is full of a bunch of dumbasses. Personal opinion, of course. But I felt like that because they were nostalgia baiting every opportunity that they had. I mean, the inside of those boardrooms must have been glowing like a freaking club in the 90s, dude. I mean, it was like terrible idea after terrible idea. And it was all couched in a fake simulacra of what the nostalgia was, but it didn't exist. That they were trying to hearken upon, it just didn't exist. It wasn't real. So when I heard about the thing with Kuniskis retiring, and I thought, damn, wouldn't it be cool if he went somewhere and just started it all over again, just did something badass? And where would he go? I don't know where he would go. If he stayed within the big 3, well, he's not going to stay within one of the big 3, so it'd be Ford or Chevrolet. Let's see what that could end up looking like. I mean, if you like 2-valve stuff, Chevrolet's your bag. And, you know, what if he did go there? Or what if he went to Ford? That would be pretty sick. I mean, could you imagine Kuniskis derived hot rods from Ford on the street with a V8? Come on now. I mean, this is some fun things to to contemplate. But I mean, if the dude's quitting and he's checking out, he's checking out. But it's a bummer that the guy is leaving, mainly because, look, again, if anybody had the back of Mopar, I guess it would have been him, trying to keep that brand alive. If you're a Mopar fan and you're a Mopar fan of late, you would be forgiven if you didn't really know where Mopar came from and how big of a deal Mopar became because of this dude. So you can't have your Challenger, your Charger, you can't have your Trackhawk, your TRX, any of your Demon variants, or any of these other hot rods. You don't have those without Kuniskis. And that's a pretty cool place to be, right? But again, I feel bad for the guy because, there's really a lightning bottle kind of thing that came to Dodge. And I guess the point that I was making there for a minute was Dodge came from a really weird place where you had Chevrolet making the Camaro for a long time after the golden era in the 60s and early 70s. Mustang from Ford, of course, was being made all the way through with never a hiccup. There was always something with a Mustang nameplate. But Dodge didn't have a real Challenger, V8, front engine, rear drive. They had cars that could have taken that moniker on, though, like the Aspen, for example. There was even an Aspen RT, pretty cool car. You had some B-body variants that could have carried that Charger mantra in, but they never did. And that's part of the problem with Mopar, is that they lost their muscle way. They were naming cars that had nothing to do with muscle cars that could have actually been considered muscle cars for their day after stimulant enhanced cities in Colorado. So I guess when you look at it from that point of view, it's like, damn, dude, Mopar, Dodge, however you want to call it, has been this tragedy of errors. Up until Kuniskis took over, we had, some really cool cars because of that dude. And you know what, Tim, I salute you. Thank you for your all the work you put into it. Never have talked to the guy. Wouldn't know him if he walked up and gave me a kiss, but I can tell you that, by all accounts, he seems like a pretty good dude. Now, with all of that being said, moving forward, what does this mean? Who's really going to be taking the reins, and what is this going to look like moving forward? It doesn't matter. Okay, you can throw out whatever knowledgeable person that you have. You can know who this person is. You could have this guy on speed dial. It isn't going to matter. This guy is going to just be there to fart in the chair that Tim's leaving, because Stellantis will only allow what Stellantis will only allow. And the free market will only consume what it's allowed to consume. Well, sort of. See, here's the thing. As Stellantis keeps trying to trudge forward with this EV thing, one of the problems that you're going to see is that people, human beings, remember, are part of this equation, don't really like them. I mean, they like them, but they don't like them. Like they're not in like with them. And this is shown by the resale value of EVs. As EV technology improves, the older technology is way less popular, way less savory, if you will, for a buying public. Factor in the fact that batteries and power systems really only work for about 8 to 10 years. And you start to kind of get a grasp as far as what this is going to look like. It's not just me saying that. The likes of Ford Motor Company for the Mach-E and for the Lightning pickup truck will warrant the vehicle for X amount of time, and the battery, the propulsion system anyway, gets 8 years, or I don't know how many miles. Say it's 100,000 miles. Well, that's great. What happens in 9 years when it doesn't work anymore? The average age of an automobile here in the beautiful United States of America is about, depending on the region, 8 to 11 years. In other words, the average age of a motor car on the road is 8 to 11 years old. taking out the highs and the lows of a bell chart. When you consider that the EVs are only warranting out to the average age of a vehicle today, that is to say that by the time you look to trade, that you're the second owner of this vehicle and you're looking to get rid of it, the chances of you having a car that is mechanically viable based on that metric alone is highly suspect. Where a 15 or 18-year-old car that's gas powered, just you keep changing the oil and you keep putting gas in it, throw some belts on it, and when it hits 130,000 miles, you put an alternator and water pump on it. Ta-da! Safe transportation that'll get you to and from work, get you to and from emergencies, and to and from errands. It's a whole lot more than you can say about a power system that could potentially burn your flipping house down. Oh, wait, that's assuming that you have the house to have the charger to charge the thing and that you live in an area where you can charge it, but not necessarily in the city because your grid can go through brownouts and then your car doesn't charge, and God forbid you forget to plug the thing in. See where I'm going with that? It's one of those funny things that, you get what you vote for, folks. So get out there and vote. Vote your conscience and vote what works for you. But if this, I segued this into a go out there and vote. Imagine that's some crafty thing. Anyway, guys, get out there and vote. It's real important that you do. More important than you will ever know. I don't care if it's for district attorney, dog catcher, president of the United States. It doesn't matter. You have to vote. You have to. Get out there and vote. Anyway, back into it. It doesn't matter who the figurehead is at this point that's going to be strings, or at least being shown that they're pulling the strings. Stellantis is still going to be running this joint. And you're still going to get a potential maybe offering with an all-wheel drive 540 horse, which is A-okay by me, vehicle, which would be badass on the street. The problem is, what's it going to cost and what's the competition going to look like? That's what you got to worry about. Yes, it's going to be fast. Yes, it's going to be all these kind of fun things. But if it doesn't have the look, then it doesn't matter. And here's the thing. What's it going to cost? Because I got news for you in another aspect. The only kind of racing people are really paying attention to realistically, it's 2K stuff. It's streetcar takeover type stuff. Is this car going to be available in a package that will be modifiable to where you can mod it to where it does well? Or is this just going to be something cute for the street, a novelty, if you will? And everything else when it comes to racing is just going to be relegated to Ford and Chevrolet from the United States. The reason why I asked that is because a lot of people will say, well, the Hurricane 6 is the 2JZ from the States, and, it's Mopar's 2JZ, whatever. It could be. Maybe it is. I don't know. But here's the thing. You can't tune them yet, not unless you've got a standalone computer. You can't tune it. And so if you can't tune it, you're stuck with what you got, regardless of how good it is. Remember the 392? Yeah, that's starting to sound real familiar right now. And it's, although impressive what the Hurricane can do, keeping in mind that it is a dedicated boost engine, which is to say that everything about that engine is designed to work with the boost numbers that it's working with. It better be. You're using freaking 2 bar or 3 bar of boost. You're using Atmo plus 2 bar to get this thing to make the power that it needs. It had better be built for boost. This is one of the funnier things that's been mentioned about that Hurricane engine that I haven't really leaned on it for. But the engineers say, well, it's designed to run on boost. We put it through an extensive testing regimen, and it's got a gimbal dyno that makes it go all over the place. And we've tested it at levels that the normal person would never, ever, because in 100,000 miles, okay, so this is a stat. In 100,000 miles, the engine would probably see 30 minutes in its entire life at wide open throttle. Do you know how we run these engines, my friend? Because that's a bullshit statement. But anyway, let's say, for example, that this engine is badass. It better be built for boost because it's packing a lot of boost. If it's not as good as it's supposed to be, then it is going to get its, and let's say you can tune the thing. Let's say piggybacks and stuff like that, it's non-traceable. Let's say you can do that. And what happens when or if it doesn't or it can't manage modification well? I'm not saying that it can't. I'm just saying what happens if it doesn't? Now the US America 2J, which is hysterical that they're comparing it to an engine that's that old, but the US America 2J is now, it's stillborn. And here's the thing that I don't want to see happen for Dodge. You've got 2025 and 2030. After that, you're kind of SOL. What are you going to have to look forward to? More EVs? I mean, apparently global warming is a real problem, even though you can still go to Plymouth Rock and see Plymouth Rock as it's been for the last, how long? And people keep buying beachfront property. Isn't Galveston supposed to be underwater by now or something? Anyway, you get the idea. So I'm confused. When we have the easiest route to the most reliable powertrains available, powertrains that are convenient and that are inexpensive, relatively speaking, to produce and to maintain and to run, why the push like we're saving the planet for EVs? I just don't get it. And it's a disassociation from the truth and reality to keep pushing the narrative of EVs as an eco-friendly thing. I love them as a power plant. Makes a lot of power. You can do a lot of really cool stuff with EV power plants. I wish they would focus on that. That would be where it's going to be cool. Quit trying to be so sanctimonious with the freaking EV thing, man. It's making me sick. In fact, that will keep me from buying one. Guys, I am a huge proponent of EVs. You may not realize it and may not come across it, but I love EVs. I'm a huge fan of EVs. I think in their right environment, they are the absolute best, untouchable for what they can do. Period. Full stop. But I won't buy one because of the freaking stigma that comes with it. It's just, it has been browbeaten into people thinking, oh, you're doing something for the environment. No, I'm converting tires into smoke and I'm converting electricity into horsepower. But they don't have it down pat yet. And unfortunately, there's too many conflict chemicals associated with those vehicles for me to be on board from an enthusiast point of view. Although I am an enthusiast when it comes to how can I make a thing haul ass? That's the only thing I'm concerned with. And EVs have got that pretty well sorted, right? Wouldn't they? Wouldn't you agree? But anyway, enough of that little deal. Where were we? Oh yeah, Kuniskis is leaving. So as we move into 2030, and we're looking at the prospect of not really having any internal combustion engines from Stellantis, why not just go ahead and pull out of the U.S. market now? Do it now. Do it now. Right now. Because I don't need you. I don't care how the Charger is. If you're not going to keep making internal combustion hot rods with that engine 5 years out, jog on. Because if I buy one, I need to know that I can get parts for it for an amount of time. I don't need a manufacturer to come into this conversation. It's already bad enough to where the thing that I buy, I don't own the intellectual property in the computer, technically. But anyway, the point that I'm getting to here is if I buy something like that car and they're not going to make it for more than 5 or 7 years, leave. Just pack your stuff and leave, because you're going to do nothing but make a fool out of yourself in the United States. It's going to get worse before it gets worse for Stellantis if they don't figure something out quickly. to keep buyers on the payroll, or buyers buying cars to keep these people on the payroll. Simply put, listen, think of it like this. Let me ask you, show of hands, kids, how many of you guys are actually going to buy one of the new Hurricane 6 cars? My hand didn't go up. Didn't go up at all. I got me a Ford F-150. That's what I did. Ford F-150, last I checked, ain't made by Stellantis, by anybody in Stellantis at all. So why did I go that route? Electrical problems. Why did I go that route? Mechanical possible issues. But why did I go that route? Because the thing gave me the heebie-jeebies with that e-torque system. You know, I think that at this stage of the game, so many people, it's not even about the V8 anymore. It's not even about the V8 anymore. It's about the prospect of what comes after the Hurricane 6. The problem, you're taught in sports, you never look past your next opponent. Doesn't matter what sport you're in. You could be you could be big into boxing, you could be into team sports, whatever the case is, individual, you never look past your next opponent. And unfortunately, that's kind of what is happening with a lot of Mopar buyers. Now that Tim Kuniskis is leaving, they feel like they have nothing now, certainly now, to look forward to. There's not going to be another demon. There's not going to be a Hurricane 6 demon. At least that's not what we're seeing. And because of that, people are just looking past it. They're going, okay, this is the best we're going to get. What's next after that? Oh, the EV? Oh, yeah. Is that going to come with subscription-based performance upgrades? Is that still? Yeah, no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. I've had enough at this point. I appreciate that. And to be fair, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of guys that will hang their worldview on a V8. Guys, V8 whole narrative, I get it, but listen, I'm not constipated with V8 things. I love all powertrains, whether they're 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder, boosted, naturally aspirated. It doesn't matter to me. I'm a fan of anything that generates power. I think that all of it is cool, from a mechanical, just from an artwork perspective as well, from the aesthetic of these things. I mean, I love anything that generates energy, anything that generates power. I think it's amazing. Right up until I have that somehow or another dictated to me that I can't, like if I choose something because I know that it is a better option for my needs, then somehow or another I'm a bad person. See what I'm getting with that? But that's what Stellantis is telling you. They're saying that we're not going to make internal combustion engines. We're moving into an EV future. Okay. So if you're saying that you're moving to an EV future, then as a consumer, you're telling me that my decision to buy internal combustion is somehow linked to a desire to own something in either inferior or somehow or another it is a obsolete way of looking at transportation. It is that my world experience is less than the world experience of somebody with practically unlimited access to resources, because that's what you have to have in order to keep, maintain, and then replace new EVs, because of the cost of the things, because you have to have a house, because you have to have a charging station. Look, another question to ask. We just had some major storms here in Texas. What happens when the power goes out? Well, the power's out, guys, and most of the city of Houston there is no electricity, and it won't have electricity for about 3 days. If you've got an EV that, let's say, had very low charge and you needed a charge for the thing, how are you going to get it? Well, somebody said, well, if you had needed gas, you could listen. With an eighth of a tank of gas in any automobile, I can drive to where there is power. All right. I've got at least 45 minutes worth of driving before I'm pushing that thing. That's a long way to go to get gasoline. With very low charge, where are you going to go to get a charger and then sit there on a reduced power grid and try to charge that bitch? All of a sudden, that EV doesn't look too great. Now you're looking really doughy-eyed at that bald guy with an F-150 four-wheel drive that's driving down the road. Yeah. Tell me how that looks. People start doing crazy stuff when they get desperate. So, just saying, fellas. Anyway, let me check in with you guys. I've been rambling on here for almost 30 minutes. We got a lot of y'all in. X is first in. Itch is in. I'm going to get through you guys real quick. I'll get back to rambling on here. Sovereign. Got the bald guy with the shade. I like it. Brent is in. X, the fall of Dodge continues. Indeed. Armando, yes, Tim was head Dodge. Brent, all those last call cars are junk. Yeah, what is it with a lot of the last call cars are having issues from what I hear. Sovereign saying Tim was Dodge. Tim embodied the spirit of John and Horse Dodge. The new CFO or CEO, he doesn't even care. He probably doesn't. Sovereign saying no Tim, no Dodge. That's right. Brent, they might sell it off. Sovereign saying rumor is he won't disappear into the shadows. I don't put any stock in anything Butter says. CJ saying, good evening, Mason. How's it going? Going well. Tim could pull a Carroll Shelby. Maybe. Sovereign saying, Tim busted his ass made to the top. Yeah, he did. He was big into it. Skids is in. What's up? She's saying, I want to see Tim continue to win. So do I. You know, and here's the thing, you know, okay, so Tim is lurking in the shot. Okay, so what happens if he stays on as a consultant? If he stays on as a consultant, then he is de facto CEO. Because nobody will have any spirit over there. The only way that I would even think that Dodge would remain afloat is if he did stay on in a consulting role and then somehow or another was able to influence the direction and really rein in marketing, because the marketing team at Dodge sucks. It is straight up dog shit what they've tried to do. Let me put it to you like this. Okay. How many of you guys on Instagram follow Dodge Official? It's like Dodge's official Instagram page, right? If you're not, look at it. Every one of the images on Dodge Official is a Charger, a Challenger, a modern Hemi. For the most part, right? Within reason, okay? Okay, so nothing on the new Charger, nothing on the EV, nothing on the H6, nothing on that. How in the hell can we as Dodge fans, Mopar fans, get excited about this kind of stuff if Dodge Official won't get excited about it? Quit parading out these old, now by your own definition, Dodge, obsolete automobiles. Stop bringing those out. And by the way, speaking of obsolete, as I do the Hercules, speaking of obsolete, has anybody been paying attention to a demon other than Racer X's? Anybody? And I'm talking about the Demon 170. Anybody? Does anybody even remember that the Demon 170 is out there. Does anybody even remember how special that car could have been? Are anybody that is watching this video, either while it's live or afterwards, or in the future, are you still racing your Demon 170? The reason why I ask is because you talk to anybody in the racing scene, anybody in the scene, nobody is looking at that car. It has it has no class to race in. So, well, not that you're looking for it to have one, but it is a slow race car. It's not a knock on the car. It is a great hobby car. If you just want to go to the racetrack and make car noises and go down the track and run a little, quarter mile, do 5 or 6 quarter mile passes, go eat your freaking Frito pie or chili dog and go home. There's nothing wrong with that car at that point. But is anybody paying attention to any of the other guys that are running? I mean, I gotta know. If you are, fill me in on what the hell is going on, because I doubt very seriously that any of you guys are either. Brent, thank you very much, my friend. I do appreciate it. See, I saw Racer X got his 170 up and running. I said sell it at the top of the market and go buy a Corvette. He was lucky. He knew Tim to get it fixed fast. I hear there are 8 to 10 170s with the same issue. Yeah. Racer X and I, for you guys that don't know, he and I go way back, way before the YouTube thing, way before all that. Anyways, we're actually pretty good friends. I was talking to him about it. It's like, dude, get rid of it, man. Love the car, don't get me wrong, but I ditch it as quick as possible. Anyway, there's that. Let's see. Let me get back to you guys. Skids, this is just another step towards the death of Dodge. Yep. Oh, Dan is in. Long time no see. Hello, Dan. Hope things are going well. Skids, if the 6-pack means the mark or misses the mark, will Dodge be able to bounce back? We already know the HOT6 Ram, $77,000 to $82,000. Now, I want you guys to think about that. The HO motor in the truck is $77,000, fools. How are you going to shell that kind of bread out? Jesus flipping H. Listen, that engine was supposed to be available in all models except a tradesman. You were supposed to be able to build either a Longhorn or a Lone Star with it. Why all of a sudden now it's in a tungsten at $77,000? The one that I built online was $81,000. This kid's asking, what is the curb weight of this thing, and why in the hell did it not have an HP 90? All good questions, man. All phenomenal questions. And the reason why I've got the F-150 sitting right behind me in the shop. The whole reason why I bought the Ford, guys, is because I couldn't buy the truck that I wanted from Dodge. Now, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this. There's going to be a standalone video coming for this. But I'll just go ahead and break it to you. I wanted to get Stormy's equivalent as a crew cab in the H6 variant. I would have ordered it. It would have been about 2 months ago, I think, is when the banks opened up. I would have ordered it then. But come to find out, when I'm trying to build this thing, and it turns out you got to spend $80,000 to get it's not like it's a different platform either. It's the same ass engine. Like the block's the same. It's a computer in it. Anyway, the point that I'm getting to here is I was so pissed. It's one other thing, guys. It's Stellantis. It's not just Dodge. Okay. It's Ram is in on this too. Jeep can get a piece, don't get me wrong, but it's Ram. Boy, howdy. It was going to be Stormy version 2.0. It was going to be dark gray, but a 4-wheel drive truck. And it would have had the H06. It would have been a Lone Star, and it would have been a 355 geared variant of it. Maybe a 392 geared variant. That would have been pretty sick too. But I would have done my research and I would have figured out what was in that Grand Wagoneer, and I would have mimicked that in that truck because I really like the way that truck drove. And when I found out that I could not build that truck, I looked at Ford and I thought, you know what? For the same money, maybe a little bit less, I could have another Whitey, because for you guys that don't know, I had a white 09 F-150. It was Whitey Ford. I could have another Whitey. And if I'm going to spend that kind of money, why not just put a blower on a 5.0 and have 700 horsepower instead of 540? Because 700 is greater than 540. You get a 331 gear truck and basically have an 11-second truck. Low 12s for sure. So that's why I did what I did. And this is Dodge. Look, this is Dodge doing what Dodge does worst. Putting a vehicle together that is going to be phenomenal and then pissing off the people that would buy it by pricing it at such a freaking on the moon kind of level pricing. What the hell, man? So if it sounds like I'm down on Dodge, bro, I'm not just down on Dodge. I'm down on Ram, Stellantis. I'm down on the entire thing, because every single time I find something that I want or that I would buy from Dodge, I'm reminded that it's Dodge again. You know, you would be better. This is the way that and I think I may have said this on the last live. A Ford truck should come from the factory with a 10-year, 130,000 mile warranty, or whatever I said. Let's go 10 and 130, because you pay a premium for the Ford, but it really is built better all the way around and has a significantly better resale value. Chevrolet should just come with whatever it comes with from the factory. Hope like hell that it covers it, because they've got more DOD problems than Dodge does. That's the displacement on demand, the lifter thing. The Dodge should come with whatever warranty that it has, but at the end of your warranty period, you are mandated by government and religion to turn that thing back to the dealership so it can be scrapped. That's the way I see Dodge. At least the Rams, I should say, the trucks. So again, what you're going to ask me to have that kind of investment in that type of a vehicle and yet not have that type of an engine be available to guys so that they can enjoy it too. Go shit in your hat, Dodge. How about that? Ram, you can get a piece of that too. Anyway, where was I at here? All right. Brent, but thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Oh, skids. And the Twin Turbo 6 Charger should have been released at least at the same time as the electrics. Yeah, no kidding for that. Big time. Sovereign. Alfa Romeo is the cubic zirconia and the crown jewel. Yeah. Hard Rock saying not him. He's not in. Him, dad's like crickets, bro. Prince going, nope. Sovereign crickets. Not me. Yep. Hard Rock saying my 392 is still in my driveway for sure. Sorry, I thought the same. Liam, ice till I die. I like it. Oh, skids, on a positive note, went on a nice jaunt from Terrell down to Somerville. Gorgeous day, a tad warm, but had absolute blast. Very nice. Um, oh, brake stuff. Yeah, the hoods are aluminum on those trucks. Oh, Sam said I went Nissan because I didn't want turbos or MDS. I also went with one of the few Nissans currently on the market that doesn't have a CVT. Very nice. Hard Art saying EVs are not in my future. I get that. Skid saying get out and vote. There's a chance that there can be at least a pause in the EV path. Yeah, it's going to have to be a full-on, full stop. All right, saying I will buy another Mustang when my 392 gets too old if I have to. Hopefully I can get another Challenger V8 used. Oh, you'll be able to find them. So I'm saying exactly 100 years ago, EVs failed and we're watching history repeat itself. Here's the funny thing. EVs failed for a weird reason. The EV failed because internal combustion was finally made convenient by electric motor starting. But EVs had a weird, there was one weird thing about EVs, and it always came back to infrastructure. It back then, they even had swappable lead acid packs. I don't know if you realize that. Automobiles back over 100 years ago, it was very much a cottage industry. And it was term. I mean, people in their sheds would build a chassis and have a power plant, and they would build cars. And, you know, it was like you went to Frank's house to go get eggs, a car, and, you know, he was brewing beer too. It's kind of like that almost. And so EVs were actually a pretty easy play in that. You've got in essence a rheostat for a throttle, brakes, and electric motors. And what they had figured out pretty early on is that if you had charging stations, you could literally pull up to your car and over the course of 10 minutes, remove a battery, put another standardized set of batteries in the thing, hook everything back up, and you take off. They put the big battery back over here on the charger, and within, you know, say 24 hours, that thing was charged all the way back up to peak, and you can take it for a ride. The problem is super heavy lead acid, although crazy safe. Super heavy lead acid, but it took forever to charge them, and you've got to have a warehouse to carry the batteries. And there was a play like that about 100 years ago, and for taxi cabs and for in the city, like, you know, delivery guys and just the normal crap that you would need, in essence, an overpowered golf cart for, works out great. You know, and you know, what's to maintain, right? But it didn't kick on, and it wasn't going to take for a number of reasons, none the least of which was it was cumbersome. But gasoline was just far too convenient. I mean, you know, a gallon of gasoline would get you every bit as far as, say, 300 pounds of battery would. So it just turns into a range versus weight type of thing. But like I say, I love EVs. I just hate the stigma that comes with them. Sorry, saying better to have a hybrid. Yep. Break out your gas generators. Yep. I'm saying, how's it going, everybody? My F-150 has the inverter in the bed. I didn't even realize the truck that I bought, if I'm being honest. I didn't realize I was buying the truck with the inverter and the electricity thing and all of that. It's not a hybrid. It just means I can like run power tools out of the back of my truck. It's like, what the hell is that thing? Oh, shoot. That's one of those. So I guess I can technically charge EVs with my truck. CJ saying we took our 2023 Dodge Charger RT Scat Pack to Greenway Raceway, and it was a blast, and it happened to my 20th birthday. Happy birthday, CJ. Cool, man. That's badass, dude. I'm glad you got that thing to the track. All that matters is that you had fun, brother. That's it. Good deal. Hard saying I put my 392 in track mode around crowds. Yep, it opens the butterflies all the time. X is saying, glad to have my old ass paid off 2010 SRT Challenger that I can do whatever I want with. So I give no F's what Dodge does now. Got a cam and bolt-ons running hard over 100,000 miles, and it'll continue to too. That is a very durable platform. Brent, thank you very much again, buddy. Arfos, coming up on 50,000 miles on my RT Challenger. Would you say I should budget for a trans flush soon or let it be for another longer mileage interval? There's no hiccups or shudders, just wondering. What year is it? If it's one of the newer cars, I really wouldn't worry too much about it. I'll put it to you like this. RT Challenger is going to use an HP 70 if it's an 8-speed car. We've got the fleet truck. My personal fleet truck is coming up on 200,000 miles, and it's never seen anything the likes of a trans flush. I really wouldn't worry too much about it if I were you. The only time, realistically, at your power level and with that transmission, the only time you should worry about a trans flush is if you are pulling that transmission out and it's getting built for something. You really probably wouldn't have an issue. And I will say this, we have had transmissions fail, but it wasn't because that they were flushed. I think it might have been operator error that killed some of these transmissions. But no, I wouldn't worry about that. If it's an 8-speed car, that's fill for life. I wouldn't sweat it too much. And by the way, mine does not slip, and my truck runs probably better today than it did when I picked it up in so many years ago. Marco is in. What's up, Marco? Mark's saying, just buy a Ram 1500 regular cab 6.4 swap and have fun. Probably the smart money goes on that one. As saying, I'm not following any 170 content, but every once in a while, Demonology, Speedy's Garage, or Racer X video shows up and I'll watch. I'll have it on in the background, but I rarely pay attention to it. If it's Demonology or Speedy, and it's not because I don't like the guys, it's just I want to support their content, but I just can't help but just those are some calories I can't consume, man. I want to desperately, and I want to keep. I always will when the videos pop up. I'll always have them on just to make sure they get the minutes. But I have a hard time with the 170 content. Marvelous is in. What's up, man? What's up, E. Mason? Great live stream, brother. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. Hard Rock saying the C170 is cool. I just don't like watching cars that are overpriced hype. Scavenger 1320 is where it's at for me. Though he is injured right now. Yeah, he is a bit on the mend. And he was one of the guys I was saying, look, man, of all the guys that I could have imagined getting one, the short list, Speedy was on there. Herman was on there. Paul was on there. But Scavenger was on there. And it's guys that I've talked to. I mean, I've met Scavenger. He and I were pitted next to each other at one of my events, and super cool dude. Boosted Hemi was one. I really wanted Tim Mopar to get one if he could have gotten one. If he would have even been interested in one. If he would have gotten, if I put it like this, if Tim Mopar would have gotten one, I would have figured out a way. I would have tried to figure out a way to get one also. Only because Tim Mopar and I are the only two guys that were actively going after the 93 octane record for Hellcats. And I'd be like, look, man, if you can't get corn up there, if you're cool with it, I'll run gasoline and we'll just see who's got the fastest. We'll figure out a way to have the fastest gasoline 170. And, that was going to be one of my angles with that car. But, I lost so much motivation. Was there a little sour grapes with that? I ain't gonna lie. I mean, dude, you're talking to somebody that's super competitive that I wanted to be a part of that too. Here it is. I'm pushing Mopar every chance that I get, flying the banner pretty flipping high. But I mean, if it would have gained a little bit more traction too, I probably would have maybe figured out a way to make it happen. but I'm sorry, it just didn't work out like that. Let's see. Offer's like, oh, good evening, Mother Gang. Hello. Excellent offer. I change my trans fluid and filter every 2 years. About my car is modded though, so it just makes me feel good. Maybe not needed. It might be, depending on how deep you are into the mods. But I mean, we've got some car. I don't know how some of these cars stay alive. So saying, anyone ever built a shaker hood 392 Ram 1500? Yeah, I think so. I'm sure somebody has. Exit Mopar is dead brand to me. When they started pricing all their cars at Mercedes-Benz prices, no way in hell I'm paying $1,000 a month for a friggin' Mopar. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same place as you, man. They're getting too expensive. I think they're seriously overstepping their bounds in a lot of ways with the cost on some of these vehicles, man. Oh, Kurt, in the old days, they would have targeted different buyers each for each different brand 100%. So somebody crazy has decided to try up and market every brand at once. And customers push back. So here's the funny thing. It used to be you could get whatever engine you wanted in whatever platform that you could put it in. And that's why I was so, this is such a piss me off, man. That's why I'm so pissed about the Ram. It's like, look, I want my pickup truck and I want the big engine. Okay, so I have to have an all-wheel drive, or I've got to have a four-wheel drive, whatever the case is. Fine, perfect, great, sweet, done. Here's my trade-in. Here's my money. Let's dance. And then they drop a $70,000 or an $81,000 price tag on me. Like, geez, Louise. Brent, thank you very much again, brother. Saying, I have not seen one stock 170 run 8 9s. That's why no one watches the videos when you had Hellcats like yours running low 9s with a tune. Well, it was low 10s, but we did run 9s. I was the first demon to run a 9-second quarter mile pass at HRP. So, I mean, or HRP, at Baytown. So Houston Raceway Park. Yeah. Why did that sound weird? You ever spell a word and it doesn't sound right? Like it's THE. It should be the, but you say the, and then you look at the and you read the and it sounds weird. Like, you ever see that, or you hear a word and it just sounds like HRP just sounded weird. Anyway, there's a word for that. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I mean, we had guys that, we were the down Houston Raceway Park. I'm up until last year, or up until this year, I was the fastest Hellcat stock boost on 93 octane. And here's the thing, Tim and I were kind of working off of a gentleman's agreement. You had to at least have a factory seat. You have to at least have, it's got to be in a drivable condition. Like, you got to have roll-up windows and the windshield wipers have to work. And it's got to be recognizable when you open the door. It's got to still be a car, just with a light amount of race prep. You've got to have the headliner. You got to have the carpet. At least that's what I was doing. I think he just went even further than that. He had full interior on a 262 gear. But the thing is that as we look further and further into the future with these cars, the issue is that you're going to have faster and faster EVs with better and better battery technology that is going to allow them to have more and more power and more range. These are clippers. That's it. It'll do that, and it'll run for an hour, I'm sure. Put a better battery in it, and it's still a set of clippers. It's not going to be better. It's just going to be more of the same. It's not going to be more exciting, because once let me put it to you like this. When it hears this is that uncanny valley, kind of a weird thing. Like it looks like it's something, but it's really, the problem is when it comes to speed. This is true with motorcycles, boats, cars, airplanes, you name it. You get to a certain place, let's say with cars, and that certain place is, say it's a 960. 960 is screaming fast, okay? But if I took you for a ride in a car that went 940s or 930s, it would scare you compared to a 960 or a 980 car. It doesn't sound like much, but to get to a 920 from a 960 or a 980, there's a lot of power that you have to make up a small gap. Where the slower vehicles, it doesn't take as much of a power jump to get a more significant difference in ET. And I say that to tell you that once you get to that mid 9-second mark, though, it doesn't matter how much faster it is after that. On the street, it's unusable, or at least it is absolutely indistinguishable. Fast becomes an irrelevant statement. If everything is fast, nothing is fast. That means everything is average. And because fast is a subjective term, you're going to find yourself looking for which car is interesting, which car is fun, which car is whatever. Same happens with motorcycles too, big time with bikes. And so when you start to look at what is coming down the pike, so to speak, from EV manufacturers, they're looking at this going, this performance level is like, this is unsustainable. People are going to expect these things to run nines. Nines will be the new 12s. Think about that for a minute. You're going to have entry-level cars that run 10s. At some point, believe me, mark my words, it's coming. With EVs, it's easy to do. So anyway, Brent talking about Scavenger's car. Yeah, it's stock with just weight reduction. He has no tune in that car. Yeah, check him out. Check him out and let him know you found his channel through here. He's a super cool dude, man. Just check out his, it's a 1320, Plum Crazy 1320 with a lot of race prep. And that's why I was saying, if anybody can do it, he would be the one to be able to run the number. Let's see. Oh, hang on. Went too far. Timeout. Timeout. Here we go. I had my mouse kind of flip out here for a second. CJ's liking the Hemi. Yep. Sovereign CVT equals Hork. Yeah. CJ, Trump 24. Vote your conscience. And I mean, get out there and vote. And if you go vote, bring somebody else with you. Have a vote buddy. Sovereign, yeah, lead acid is super low energy density. Absolutely. They just didn't have lithium ion batteries that were mass producible back then yet. Sam talking about bringing some steam in. You know, it wouldn't surprise me. Or my Hemi's a sealed training, no dipstick. That is right. Technically, there is dipstick, but it's not one that you would really want to get to. And really, as long as it's not leaking, you're fine. Don't sweat it. Skids, been watching the F-150 V8 content, especially the regular cab short bed. Hope to land me one of these this year. Dude, you will not regret it. Sorry, man. I mean, by every metric that's out there, I will tell you that truck, it's the one that you want, bro. Trust me on this. Marcos, you didn't watch the Fury Suzuki fight? No, I didn't. I didn't. And I'm kicking myself for not watching that fight. Don't give me no spoilers though. I want to catch it. Sam said I've been looking at old C20s or C10. I remember when you could find them in decent shape for $500 for one that ran in 4K, for one that was pristine. Now $1,500 for a rust bucket non-runner. Good luck on $1,500. Most of them are $4,500 for a bucket non-runner. For you guys know, I'm super into Jeeps and J20 pickup trucks and stuff like that. There's a long wheelbase brown J20 that's in kind of busted up shape, but I would love to get my hands on this truck, and I just don't have the balls to go talk to the guy and see if he wants to sell it. It's actually at a shop, and it's been sitting in the same place for as long as I can remember. And I don't have the time or the pace. Perform. I don't have the time or the place or the space to get involved with that truck, but I would love to grab that thing and put a 392 in it. Dude, 392 with a NAG 1. Shit. That thing'd be pretty sick. Doesn't weigh anything. But I can dream. There's a Dart, and I swear to you guys, it's like I don't know, maybe a 72, 73 Dart. And I think it's a 6-cylinder car. It's black, and it's got like it's got an offset hood scoop on it. It's pretty 70s. But I think it's a 225 car, and it looks good, man. It looks like a little hot rod. And that thing with an H6 in it would be disturbingly fast. Arfo saying, yeah, it's a 2019 RT, bought it at 15,000 miles, and I did every other fluid for peace of mind. But I know these 8 speeds are a bit of a job, so I was curious to see if it was worth doing the service. Nah, I wouldn't sweat it. Unless if it needs a rebuild, then, they're going to swap it out. But the problem is, you got to remember, that's 11 quarts of an extremely expensive trans fluid. So, no, I wouldn't mess with it. CJ saying, let's hope Stellantis leaves America for good. Mopar's downhill has started over since the Daimler-Chrysler merger in 97. What's funny is that we wouldn't have the cars that we have if it weren't for the Daimler-Chrysler merger in 97. The big problem is that it went to Stellantis. And then we had people trying to tell us what we can and can't put in our cars. Hard Rock Scavenger ran a 10.9 with his 392. Yep. It's running good. BB saying, any strong opinions on Mopar build quality in the last 10-ish years? A lot of people seem to point to 2020 and up having more issues. So I can speak to this. I've had a 2014, which would be in the last 10 years, and that truck was really good. I probably shouldn't have gotten rid of it. I also have my 2017. My 2017 is the one with about 200,000 miles on it. It's coming up on it here probably next month or month after next. Build quality on that, it's a classic body style, so the doors creak. But I maintain it really well, and so does everybody in the fleet. Those trucks are monitored as far as maintenance. And they don't care how fast you drive. They just want to make sure their equipment is maintained properly, and everybody does. And they maintain them to no expenses spared. So you need an oil change, get oil change. You need bearings, get bearings. You got a transmission, you put a transmission in it. Just had one guy with a 6-cylinder blow his truck up, and that truck just got a new engine. So I haven't had a Hemi let go, but anyway, that's where we're at with that. It's good. I mean, I wouldn't sweat it. Anything 2020 and up, I mean, anything COVID related, I wouldn't want to buy a COVID car. Sam saying that old saying, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. That is very true. Sovereign. CJ saying, glad you chose the Coyote V8 over the EcoBoost. Man, I tell you what, CJ, I drove them both. And I didn't like the EcoBoost. I didn't like the EcoBoost at all because of the power delivery. What was funny about the Boost is that it's got a lot of bottom torque. The EcoBoost, the EcoBoost is like driving a diesel truck. But a diesel truck that has instant right now yes torque without having to wait for a turbo to spool up. And it's like a whole lot of torque, and then it just fades off. And then as you're going through the gears, the way that I would describe it is if they're racing, the EcoBoost would go like this to the Coyote, and the Coyote would steadily reel it in as you're going down the track. That's the way that they feel to drive. I could be wrong about that, and the EcoBoost could just dust it. But when I drove both of them, there was something I just didn't like about the EcoBoost, and I got all of this power early on, and it made it twitchy to drive. That's the other thing I noticed about the EV is that it felt kind of twitchy in a way. So I went with the Coyote. I just like the way that the Coyote performed better, and it sounds so good. Liam said, yeah, like I said last time, this year's goal is a short bed F-150. I'm with y'all on that. I love them, dude. I was just talking, you guys know Multiple Mopars, Behemoth Racing. He and I are good friends too, and we were talking about that right before I went live. And, you know, look, I don't want to turn this into, shitting all over Dodge. That's not where I'm at with this. But real talk, boys. Look, I don't have to do any shitting on Dodge. The people that race against Dodge do that plenty. And say what you will, but when you start talking about fast vehicles, the conversation, and I know y'all are not going to want to hear this if you're huge Mopar fans, but the conversation with fast cars starts around 870s, 860s. It's about that number that you start to get people's attention. Like an 890 doesn't cut it because there are so many 890 F-150s running around. It's like places infested with 890 F-150s, man. A four-wheel drive RCSB, which for you guys that don't know what that means, that's RCSB stands for regular cab short bed. It's the smallest truck they make, but you can get it in four-wheel drive. A regular cab four-wheel drive RCSB with either a 3-liter Whipple. Well, you're not going to get there necessarily with that, but that's disturbing on the street. But step it up and go turbo. Built 10 R80. 331 gears. You're going to drop it and put it on a tire. Twin turbo setup is practically untouchable with a fuel system on corn. And there are so many guys, if they're not running in the 8s, there's so many of them running mid to low 9s, and they do it on the street just like an EV would. They are stupid fast. Like they're legit Tesla plaid fast for a truck that has stock camshafts, stock cylinder heads, stock oil pump gears for the Gen 4, stock drivability. They're quiet. You can just have a conversation and the thing say, oh, really? I didn't know she said that. I don't like her either. She's a real bitch. I can't believe she even got hired. Can you believe that? And she stank. You got a conversation like that in these trucks, just twiddling on down the road, going antiquing in the bitch. You'd never even know that it had a Brazilian horsepower. That's the problem, is that you're trying to compare anything to that truck. You're never going to get there. And by the flipping way, there are guys running around in trucks that look like Whitey that are making 1,000, 1,100 horsepower to the wheels. And they're running like 10 O's, 980s. And they look like Whitey. God dang. I mean, you expect that out of a TRX with a whole lot of hot sauce, but I don't know. I mean, I know Matt's truck was the fastest you could find for a long time, and that was a 990 truck. So just saying. But you can do that with a Hellcat platform anyway. Oh, Hard Rock said, I need to catch up on your F-150 content. Yeah, get into the club, my good friend. See him saying my 06 Ram Cummins turbo runs great. It probably run great for a long time after, too. Sovereign, the quality of the 06 F-150 with the Triton is do not buy one. That's the quality of that truck. If you are forced to buy a Triton, get a 2010, the one with the different spark plug design, and get ready to have your cam phasers replaced. Sam, he's found a few. It's like it would have been C10 or C20s with. The 305 6-cylinders. Those are actually the RT, the old school, the GMCs. They're actually found one of those floating around here in my own hometown. I didn't think I'd ever see one, and here it is. There was one floating around, and they are expensive. Hard Rock, yeah, I stay away from it. I found a what would have been cool. So 3 on the Tree, you mentioned 3 on the Tree. I knew a guy who drag raced 3 on a Tree cars and swore that it was better than running a 4-speed. And he's like, dude, you can't miss a gear. First gear, second gear, third gear. That's it. You can't miss. There's no gate. And he was right. He was fast as shit too, that old truck. Sovereign, yep. Hanging out with Steven. Dan say, man, the kid with the tribal tattoo CEO might be an improvement. You know what's funny is tribal tattoos are making a comeback, and I remember that stuff when I was a kid. This kid said F-150 Coyote has ruined it for so many other brands. Dude, the F-150 Coyote has ruined it for a lot of folks. Oh, so bad. So at the track, I remember this like it was yesterday too. Oh God. There was a guy that had a track hawk. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm so bad with names. Anyway, good dude. Had, I think it was a 19 or a 20 F-150, legit fast truck, like a 10. I think the thing would have run either high 9s or 10 O's. And he broke a drive shaft racing, or maybe as a U-joint. I think he broke a U-joint racing me. He may have ended up selling that truck. I think I even told him, if you ever decide to sell that truck, let me know. Super pretty truck, man. But again, super simple build, and the things just rip. Steven, yeah, get out there and vote, guys. It's coming up faster than you know. Hard Rock said, make a drag pack street legal. Unfortunately, I don't see the reason why you couldn't. All it needs is catalytic converters, right? Kurt is asking about being all-star under on oil, because of oil pan. Never had that problem. Not with the Hellcats. I've got so many data logs where I'm logging fuel pressure and oil pressure. or let me rephrase that. I'm logging fuel pressure and oil pressure in all my data logs, but where I have been specifically looking for that and I haven't seen it. And that's not on my car. That's on the Demon. That's on a bunch of red eyes. That's on Excessive, which was Racer X's Charger. In fact, I'm the one that caught his fuel pressure issue. And it's just, I'm looking things that I look for immediately on a data log. First one's oil pressure. Second one is fuel pressure. And you can see it when it fuel yips too. It's called a fuel yip when you launch so hard the fuel sloshes back and the pump cavitates. That does happen with Hellcats. We run less than a quarter of a tank, or rather, I should say a third of a tank when cars start really launching in the business. And then we would tell guys, do not, when you are at half a tank, you're going to put gas in it. You know what I mean? So if you get the thing down to half a tank, just keep adding fuel until you see the needle budge and then make another hit. But we didn't, even for the really fast stuff with stock fuel systems, like don't try to launch that thing with a quarter tank of gas. You're gonna fuel yip it. But no, not for the Hellcats, not for what Racer X would have been dealing with. Sovereign, yeah, the super long skinny spark plugs that break. Yep, I'd get a special tool for that. It's a nightmare. Mechanics, some mechanics will quit before they have to work on one of those things. Sam's not liking the short bed. I like, for 4-wheel drive trucks, I like the long wheelbase. Sam's liking the single cab long bed. I tell you what, when I was younger, I used to like lowered long beds too. I like the way that they look, and they're super cheap. I tell you what, if you wanted to cheat, okay, let me tell you a way you can cheat as far as drag racing goes with pickup trucks. There's two ways, not cheating, but okay, less money. You either get a long bed 4-wheel drive F-150 or you get an extended cab F-150 with a 6-foot bed. You get a little bit longer truck. You get better weight distribution, though, at launch. You get more weight over the front if you're launching the pits out of it. Plus, if you get an extended cab, you get the extra room, and I'm kind of biased towards that. So if I were to build one, realistically, I would probably build that truck if it was going to be a street truck. But, yeah, either way you go, it's going to be badass. But the long wheelbase trucks will actually launch better. But they're a little bit heavier, but so nobody gravitates towards them because they're not as cute. Totally. Thank you. Thank you very much. Saying rough night at track, a few passes with fellow 392 stock scat with a CAI. Big street tires, 295 plus. Beat him off the line, but I got beat at last 8. Where do I look first? The driver, my cold air intake, plugs maybe. Well, let's break this down. So it looks like you got walked around. First of all, tires. You don't need that much tire. I would start off with running something more like this. Run I was running 305s, but I mean, a 275 drag radial on a 392 will absolutely dead hook on a well-prepared track. But if you're getting walked around on the big end, a lot of times plugs aren't going to be, it rarely, if ever, would be. You would know it because you'd have misfires. Cold air intake, possibly. I would always recommend a Hellcat intake with the snorkel, don't forget that, but Hellcat intake with a Hellcat air filter. If there's anything else going on after that, if you're getting walked around, let's see, we seem to be so matched. We're both novice at the track with very similar cars. Fuel quality could be another thing. Remember, and fuel amount could be another thing, but fuel quality, you'd be surprised if you've not got a good tank of gas, you're going to get into knock that can retard your timing, which would primarily hurt you on the back half of the track if they're both practically identical cars. Now, if you have, say, a 2016 car and he's got a 2020 car, that's a fight you ain't gonna win. And the reason why is because the cam phasing is different on the later cars, and it's actually really good. That's where you can pick up some ET. So it could be the cars may be very similar, but if they're separated by that operating system, that can also be a slight advantage to that guy, which will allow it to pull better on the big end under load. You may not see it on the dyno, but it works in real life. You're a 2017 and he's younger. So if he's a 19 and up, that might be what you're finding. I'll put it to you like this. The 19 and up cars were inexplicably, until I started digging into the tune. Hey, Kurt, thank you very much, man. They were always like a tenth and a half quicker for whatever reason. I started looking at the tune and it looked like it was all in the cam phasing and some in the timing tables, but mainly in the cam phasing. I don't really need a tune, by the way. But thank you very much, Kurt. And totally, man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hopefully that helps you out. A lot of times when guys have, I would say thank you very much. Appreciate your time here. Thank you very much. A lot of time, guys, listen, cold air kits, stick with the factory stuff. Listen, I've run with factory Hellcat intake systems. Let me think. Now, this is all supercharged stuff, so it doesn't really apply. I mean, I've run deep into the nines with factory stuff. Well, factory airbox with a K&N filter or factory airbox with no filter. So, I mean, there is airflow there, but when you have a compressor yanking air through the thing, it's not quite the same as being atmospherically fed. But yeah, and Brent saying, what kind of seats do you have? There's so many other variables, like what kind of seats do you have? Did you have extra crap in the car? Did that guy have some weight reduction that maybe you didn't know about? I mean, the list can go on and on and on. I mean, to really get it right, you've got to park the cars next to each other and go piece by piece. What do you have in the trunk? Did you have a bunch of crap back there? Did one guy have a low tank of gas? Somebody else has got more weight in fuel. I mean, you can really break it down to the nth degree when it comes to that kind of stuff. But you're exactly right, Brent. There's so much more to it than just that. And again, Kurt, I appreciate it. I love it. But getting back to it, guys, we're coming in almost about an hour and a half now. Guys, seriously, Kuniskis, getting back to the topic here, but thank y'all so very much. Kurt, Brent, man, so appreciate it. So very, very much appreciate the support. Any of you guys have ever supported the channel, you have no idea how much I appreciate that. Really do. Means the world to me. But getting back to Tim leaving. Listen, wherever he winds up, best of luck to you, bro. I will say this. When it comes down to what's going to happen to Dodge moving forward, it only matters. How do I put this? It only matters if you're a buyer, and it only matters if you're a player. It only matters if that car that is not a necessity necessarily, because of the it is, if it speaks to you, if it makes you want to spend the money on it, which makes you want to work for it, which makes you want to sacrifice for it, it only matters then. And for most guys, they've lost the passion for it. There is no there's just no meat between the bread for a lot of these folks when it comes to what these offerings are going to have. And I'm sorry, but the quality of what they've had already wasn't it what they were hoping. And then you get into the quality of the product that's out when they start bringing this new 6-cylinder out. There's a lot of skepticism. I know that it's great. I know that they've tested it. I know what all is good, but there is still always going to be a certain level of reality that comes from making such a big switch from V8 to Turbo 6. Is it going to be fast? Yeah, it's going to be fast. It'll be fast on the street where it counts. But if the passion isn't there, you can be really, really good and not be marketable. That happens a lot in business. It happens a lot with personnel. I've known guys that are incredibly good. I know a guy that's incredibly good at their job, overwhelmingly good at his job. I would never hire him, though. Never hire him. Not marketable, not enjoyable, not fun. There is an X factor to all of this. And it doesn't have to mean that it's got to be the fastest thing on the street, because we've already proven that you don't get that moniker. But if it's fun, if it makes the right noises, if it gives you a thrill, if it gets you to say 130 miles an hour super quick, and it's fun and it's easy to do on the street and it's repeatable and it's durable and you never have to worry about it ever again, ever, never, ever, 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 then it's awesome. But I just don't have the confidence in these things. And with Kuniskis being gone, like I say, you never know where people wind up. He's a young dude. You never know. He's got a lot of passion. He may show up where you least expect him. And when he does, or if he does, that's who you tie your horse to. That's the cart that you strap old Bessie to. Because I'm promising you, that's going to be the manufacturer that will, and the reason why you hire a guy like Tim is because he is going to be the sole bearer of the company that he's working for. He's at least going to have the passion, right? And that's what you need to hire. I would rather hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, but has a great attitude and has a lot of passion for something than somebody that's really good at their job, but turns out a boring, crappy, serviceable, I should say, product. And unfortunately, I think that's where Stellantis is heading. But let me check in with you guys, and then I will turn y'all loose to enjoy your evening. Skids is out. Have a good one, brother. Say my 392 ran a 12 flat. Guy with different seats ran 11.8. That is very true. Guys with base model, these be Scat Pack cores were lightweight cars. My SRT was the heaviest, and it went as quick as 1130 something, mid 1130. Totally saying settle a bet. Much of an advantage dropping air pressure on a street summer tire from 35 to say 30 or 25. Depends on the tire, depends on the rim size that the tire is on. So it depends on the tire, depends on the tire size, and the rim size that it's on. So on a street summer tire, okay, let's say we're talking about a 275 40/20 on a 9-inch wide wheel. Dropping the pressure is not going to help you. Because what happens is, if I may illustrate with this notepad. So a radial tire, especially one with a very low aspect ratio, 35 series, 40 series, 45 series, has very, very, very stiff sidewalls, super stiff. And it has to so that it can handle lateral forces. If it had weaker sidewalls, you'd have this action going on. Very unstable. Now, you can get away with that if you have a lot of aspect ratio because you're going to have some movement of the tire underneath. Can't do that with a handling bias tire. So what happens? Well, they're designed to run at a specific pressure. Too much pressure and they will start to conform like this. Okay? When they do that, you get a lot of wear right in the center. If you underinflate them, they go like this. They cup. And you will notice this by pattern testing your tire. You get to do something fun. It's actually productive. Get out there and light the tires up. Just stand on the throttle and burp, bust out. If both of your tires leave a pattern that is consistent in color, like that, in other words, consistent on both sides, you're getting the full footprint of the tire. If, hopefully that wasn't important. On the other hand, this is what happens when you underinflate them. I did a ton of tire testing with this. Like, I got sick of it after a while. You guys know I was sponsored by Hoosier, right? Did a lot of tire testing. If on the other hand, you get a tire wear pattern that looks like this. It's going to take me a minute, so just bear with me. You will see, I'm just going to hold it like this, only the edges right here. It's more of like they're dark on the outside, but light on the inside. That's a tire that's underinflated. And what's happening is that tire is cupping. That also happens to happen if you try to run a 305 aspect ratio, like a 305, 35 on a 9.5 inch wide wheel, like what you would see on a Hellcat. Give you something else to think about. The tire, the way that I don't have the way that a tire is designed is the bead of the tire is designed to be perpendicular to planet Earth. Okay. So as the bead of the tire is designed to be perpendicular to planet Earth, what you have to remember is that the rim of the tire, the actual rim that the bead is on, has to be perpendicular to planet Earth, right? It always is. It's only the tire that moves. So the bead of a tire, try to do this. Let's do it like that. The tire, I'm just going to draw the carcass side of it. God, this is going to be confusing as shit if you don't know what you're looking at. Anyway, rim of the tire, carcass of the tire, planet Earth, okay? If you take this and you go too wide and you're too short of an aspect ratio, this angle, I'm going to do it in dotted lines here. Actually, I should come up a little bit more than that. This angle becomes pronounced, okay? And it's going to provide a shorter distance from the rim to planet Earth. So you lose height. But what you also get is you get this funky, very pronounced kick out of the actual sidewall of the tire. That forces the tire to be in a cup position. So then you have to run even more air pressure to try to make up for it. And in that case, you get a weird kind of a wave to how that tire is looking at the ground, the footprint. So that is a lot. That's a lot to take in, and I completely understand. But there's a lot more that comes into play when we're talking about, tire for tire for tire. So if we're talking about a 275/40/20 on a 9.5 inch wide wheel, you are better to run 27 to 30 psi. Running much more than that, you're not going to get. In fact, you may even want to bump it to 32. Because that's kind of the sweet spot for the pressure for that tire. Dropping the pressure does you no good. The idea with dropping the pressure it's an old way of thinking about tires. It has to do with bias ply tires. You don't run on bias plies, you run on radials. And one of the things about radials is you run as much pressure as you possibly can in those tires to get your car to, as long as your car is hooking, add pressure. People go, well, you need to add less. No. Keep throwing pressure at it until it breaks loose, basically up to say 30 PSI. Don't go above 30, but guys, got a news flash for you. Those of us that were really going after numbers, we all ran hot pressures of like 27, 28 on ET Street R's in some cases. So for everybody that was going, oh, you got to run these pressures, I'm going, yeah, keep running them. And we'd sneak out there and with a really well-prepped track, we'd be just absolutely pumping those tires up as hard as we could. It would start to get a little bit funky, though, at about 28 PSI. But I never ran less than 22. 22 ice cold even is what I would run. But hopefully that answers the question. So to answer your question, no. Matter of fact, it can hurt performance more than anything else. Hard Rock, my family doesn't understand my obsession with new and old Challengers. I love them. Hard Rock saying sometimes being right are two different things. Many times it's like that. Hard Science will turn Dodge into a man bun company. They may have already done that. CJ, attitude is everything. You can be good at everything, but if your attitude sucks and no one will want to hire you, nor be with you. That's right. Brent, thank you so much, my friend. When you run 392, did you do weight reduction? No, I didn't. I did remove the speaker box, but that was typically so I could bring stuff to the track. But no, I had a thing with my car where I was not going to do weight reduction. In fact, I didn't remove the passenger seat. I didn't remove any sway bars. I ran on 20s for a long time with that car. And when I was running the numbers, the low 11s with it, it was in a real strict, like, this is how this car is going to run. This is why I'm running these numbers. I want it to be as relatable as possible. So no, I did no weight reduction, like no front bumper support, no nothing. But again, I did have the speaker box out of the car. And that's it. I even had a factory battery. I did not have a lightweight battery in that car either. So hopefully that answers that question, because I haven't talked about that in a while, and I'm glad you asked. And yeah, no, I was so adamant about that. In fact, here's the funny thing with that car. I was running, right before I got rid of it, that car was running consistent 1160s in the heat. Like, yeah, it was going to end up running a 10-second quarter mile time before it was all said and done on the stock cam. And I was whipping it down, and then I got the deal on Revlon. I could not pass that up. But yep. Brent, my tutor said I have to take weight out to run 1170s. Well, not necessarily. It depends on the weather that you're running in. Like right now, yeah, you'd have to get some weight out of it. But in cold air, nah, not too much. Like I say, mine was a 2016. I just don't think the normal, I'll put it to you like this, the normal weight reduction, just making sure you don't have any extra crap in the car. That's it. Live here in Michigan. Oh, have a 392 17 Daytona. Oh, it's a Charger. Oh, yeah, you're heavier. So, 1170, 1180, 1190 should be pretty much easy. 70s might be a little bit tougher for you because you're a little bit heavier, but I mean, hell, Orange Crush had a Charger, and it was not that far behind my Challenger. His Charger made more power than my Challenger did, too. And then there's, I mean, you can get wheels and tires for the car, and that'll definitely help. But, man, I really wouldn't sweat it too much. Just make sure you don't have any extra crap in the car. Catch it on a cold, nice, cool, crisp day and deep stage the car, and you'll be able to run a number. A lot of guys have. But 70 is tough. You're going to need really good air for that. I will tell you, though, pulling, this is the thing that kind of sucks in a way. It's not bad, but it's like great either. These cars are heavy, and they're like legit heavy. And so if you start pulling weight out of them, it helps, but you have to remember that it's not a huge percentage like it would be in, say, another car. You can pull the seats, though. The passenger seat's about 65 pounds. That's worth about 4/10 at your power level and at your weight. Or rather 400ths, I should say, not 4/10, worth about 400ths, really. So there is that. You've got, what else? Let me think. In that car, thing is, the Charger is technically a better car than the Challenger, by the way. But just mind how you're setting the car up and staging the car. There's a little bit of ET in there for you too. So hopefully that helps. I will say this. There was a guy when I had my Challenger, that he and I could tell you what his car would run based on what my car ran. And my car was exactly 1/10 of a second quicker than his car, and his car had better mile an hour than mine did. And part of that has to do with the fact that Charger is a more aerodynamic car. But it was hysterical. I mean, it was exactly 1/10 every single time. So if I went at 1190, he would go at 12.0. If I went at 1180, he would go at, it was just all the way down the board. I got to tell you too, there are times, I have to admit, there are times where there's times where I wish I didn't get the Hell, even though the Hellcat was a great car, still is a great car. By the way, the guy that bought it apparently is in love with it. Like, this guy fawns over that car. And I love that that's the case. There are times when I kind of would like to get like a 2019. 2019 would be the year they get the new OS. A 2019 Scatty or a Shaker or a 1320. I don't have anywhere to take it. I don't have a drag strip, and I love racing. I absolutely love racing. So it would take something like that to really get me back to the mix, or an F-150. Oh, wait, I got one of those. Oh, Brent, 114 to 115, that's solid mile an hour. Definitely solid mile an hour. When I started going really quick, I wasn't super going really quick until, say, well, when I was running 60s, it was at 116, on just the other side of 116 and a half. 117 right in there. But that wasn't in great air. Sovereign, why don't you get another Scat Pack? For the same reason why I don't get a lot of stuff. Number one, money. Number two, space, time issues. That's really it. But well, gents, with that, I got to wrap it up. Man, I want to say huge thanks to Not a Cult, Kurt, Brent, man. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate the support. Love all of you guys, though. Would not do this without you. Hopefully, I was able to help some of you guys with some of the questions. Just put out a video with the F-150 with experience I had with the dealership changing oil in it. Check that out if you want a quick laugh. But guys, with that, that's a wrap. We will catch y'all on the next. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it more than you know. And now we'll see you on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios, guys.